We each have our own talents, the things that we're naturally good at, that nourish our soul, and that in all likelihood terrify us to death. I believe we have our own unique calling, our secret dream, if you want to call it that. And it's either something that we've told very few people about, or that we've never really admitted, possibly even to ourselves. So we're going to start this episode on a rather morbid, but I hope impactful note. And I'm going to ask you guys to imagine for a second that you were on your deathbed. Hectic, I know. But imagine that all the life that you thought you had ahead of you, all those days and all the time, were suddenly taken away from you and you'd fallen ill. So you're lying there and you know your days are numbered. What is the one thing that comes to mind that you know you're going to die regretting having not done? And I don't mean traveling or having more money or earning more money. Obviously those things would be fabulous. I think we'd all like them. But I'm referring to the thing that you just cannot shake. The idea, the project, the business, the album, photography, something along those lines. And I feel like if you're listening, there's a chance that you might have had something spring up in the recesses of your mind, or somewhere in your heart you felt a little tug. That thing, that's the thing that I'm talking about. It's like a longing that never goes away. That's the thing that I'm talking about. That thing that gnaws at you constantly with a voice that says, you really should just start. That thing that elicits some kind of emotion in you. Whether it be guilt, if you think about it, if it's a tension in your chest, if it's anxiety, fear, that thing. I know you know what I'm talking about because we all have one, and I know that you know what I'm talking about. So I think that we are all carrying this unexpressed but burning desire within us to utilize our gifts and our passions in the way that I guess we can call it creation as a whole intended. So, what is your thing? What is that thing for you? I'll go first. For me, it is this poetry book. If you're a friend of mine, you've heard me speaking about it. It is something that I think about often, that I've started multiple times, that I cannot get rid of in terms of it's always occupying something in my mind. I feel magnetized towards it as a project, yet at the same time repelled by it. And no matter how much I feel like completing this task, whether it just be for the sake of having written poems that I can put into a book that I can share with the world, not necessarily to win a Pulitzer Prize or anything along those lines, but I know there's a part of me that knows that completing that expression of myself is something I need to do before I die. I know that. I can claim that. Yet, here we are. I barely ever find the time to write. I barely ever make the time to write, should I say. This is Time for Us, and I'm Danny Wallace. And today's episode is on a book that I've read recently called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. There you go. Take a look at the cover. You can see all the usual notes ready for you. And I really hope that me sharing this is the kick in the ass that you need, because it was the kick in the ass that I needed. And just so you know, this is not going to be a review chapter by chapter. I am cherry picking the elements of the book that stood out most to me and that hit me hardest, but I am trying to deliver a whole story for you guys because I do think it is something that will stick. I'm going to start with the first part, which is, I don't know why I'm laughing. Never mind. I'm going to start with the first part, which is discussing something called the unlived life. We will begin with our first excerpt read directly from the book, and Pressfield says the following. The unlived life. Most of us have two lives, the life we live and the unlived life within us. Between the two stands resistance. More on resistance shortly. But isn't it incredible to think that within us exists a more evolved version of ourselves that I feel most of us spend our entire lives obstructing from emerging? It's quite a painful thing to carry around, this knowing that there's more to be shared with the world, but this, I don't know, resistance, no better word really, to letting that be seen in all its glory. So he also says that to yield to resistance deforms our spirit. It stunts us and makes us less than we are and were born to be. How many of us have become drunks and addicts, developed tumors and neuroses, succumbed to painkillers, gossip, and compulsive cell phone use, simply because we don't do that thing that our hearts, our inner genius, is calling us to? Again, I wonder what comes to mind for you as I read that. We're going to go into the next part, which is his definition of resistance. The book uses quite colorful language and really does a lot to create a lot of tension between what is perceived as, or what he identifies as, resistance, which he personifies, and the artist or the creator, which is the warrior in this instance. So as it describes, the book's title is The War of Art, which I love as a play on words from the art of war. But yeah, the book creates this tension between resistance and almost the battle that we as creatives, as creators, should I say, as creators, have to freaking pull our bootstraps up and step into in order to self-actualize, really. How can we describe resistance? Resistance is an energy. It's a repelling force, as Pressfield refers to it. So it doesn't really come with many positives. It's a negative energy. Its aim is to distract us and prevent us from doing our work. It is self-generated and self-perpetuated. And best of all, it is universal. Everyone who is a human being experiencing life through a body, we can all be relieved to know, experiences resistance. So there's nothing wrong with us for having this feeling inside of us. It's quite normal. And when along our journey could we expect to bump into the enemy, which is resistance? Well, Pressfield says, he lists a lot of specifics like starting a new diet or undertaking any enterprise or endeavor whose aim is to help others, or any act that entails commitment of the heart, such as getting married or having a child, that kind of stuff. But if we had to summarize it for you, in other words, the moment you can expect to meet resistance is if you are engaging in any act that rejects immediate gratification in favor of long-term growth, health, or integrity, or expressed another way, any act that derives from our higher nature instead of our lower. So any of these will elicit resistance. Getting into some of the characteristics of resistance, there are a couple of them that I think absolutely slap you across the face, and those are going to be the ones that I'll touch on. One of my favorites is that resistance is infallible, and this is what he says. Like a magnetized needle floating on a surface of oil, resistance will unfailingly point true north, meaning that calling or action it most wants to stop us from doing. We can use this. We can use it as a compass. We can navigate by resistance, letting it guide us to that calling or action that we must follow before all others. Rule of thumb: the more important a call or action is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we will feel toward pursuing it. So I don't know about you, but when I read that, I was struck, because if I tell you the number of excuses, the rationalizations, the avoidance that I have come up with for poetry writing, but also this podcast even, there was a stage where I nearly quit. I, as you know, or heard me mention, have occupied the spare room in our house as my studio only to not use it for the first year that we lived here, which is diabolical and so selfish. But I have had so much resistance to it. And I think that the scary thing, or the thing that we need to be cautious of when it comes to resistance, is that it's really good at telling stories. If you're not careful, you can end up believing a lot of what the sensation is that you feel in your body and kind of using it as a compass to go in the wrong direction, rather than, as this book suggests, taking that, oh my word, I'm feeling effing fearful, I'm avoiding doing this at the utmost costs. That must mean that it's something I should do, that I definitely must pursue. Whereas I think I started believing that, oh my God, I have so much resistance towards this. It must mean that it's bad for me. It must mean that, yeah, it's not serving me and that I should seriously just give it up. And I think deep down, like, I mean, there's a reason I'm sitting here still to this day in front of you, because I managed to push through that, and because deep in my gut, I knew that that was a falsehood and that was a lie that I was telling myself. Thank goodness, here we are. But it's a sneaky little trickster, because it can end up wasting a lot of your time and distracting you along the way. So I love this point because it really cuts the bullshit. It's like, oh, are you resisting doing something? Use it as a compass. Then literally direct all your energy towards that thing and get it fucking done. Another golden one, but I mean, I think this is a given, and I would almost argue to say that this characteristic of resistance is likely the one that we all know very intimately and all too well, and that is procrastination. That old bitch, that old hag, procrastination. This is what the book says about it. Procrastination is the most common manifestation of resistance because it's the easiest to rationalize. We don't tell ourselves, I'm never going to write my symphony. Instead, we say, I'm going to write my symphony. I'm just going to start tomorrow. And what a slippery slope that is. Because if we're not careful, I mean, I said this a bit earlier, if we're not careful, that delay, that slight little story that we tell ourselves, can end up becoming something that we just run with. And we just keep letting time pass. We keep letting our dreams gather dust on the shelf until, who knows, we might even run out of time to seize our lives and our talents and, you know, do what we came here, what we were put on this earth to do. And Pressfield says it best when he says, the most pernicious aspect of procrastination, which is the most gradually and subtly harmful aspect of procrastination, is that it can become a habit. We don't just put off our lives today, we put them off until our deathbed. And I think that's probably one of my greatest fears, is that I sleep on this, is that I sleep on my talents, and that I sleep on the gift that I have to share with others. And that doesn't go to say that I think I'm God's gift to the earth and that whatever I produce may not gather criticism and that it might not be the most well-received thing on earth. That's not what I'm trying to say. I think what I'm getting at is that I have something to say at all, you know, that there is something that I wish to impart. That if I had to take the very long sleep and close my eyes forever on this lifetime, I would feel incomplete. I would feel that my work here was not done. Another one of my favorites is resistance and self-doubt. Self-doubt can be an ally. This is because it serves as an indicator of aspiration. It reflects love of something we dream of doing, and desire to do it. If you find yourself asking yourself and your friends, am I really a writer? Am I really an artist? Chances are you are. The counterfeit innovator is wildly self-confident. The real one is scared to death. Again, guys, tell me that doesn't put a pep in your step. Tell me that doesn't slap you right across the ass cheek and beg you to catch a wake up. Do you know what I mean? Like when you read that, I feel like what I've loved about this book is it definitely schools you. It puts things into perspective and it demands of you to rise to the occasion. Yet it also gives you these little nuggets to walk away from that are hopeful nuggets that, yes, we are all going to experience self-doubt, especially when it comes to the things that matter most to us. So don't, again, listen to that voice and don't let the self-doubt be the thing that holds you back. I really think that it's brilliant how he's personified resistance or given us something to anchor our experience onto and ascribe all of these many different ways that it shows up to this one thing. It kind of alleviates a lot of the necessity for analyzing oneself and for like really like getting caught up in the details in a way. Hearing that self-doubt is a version of resistance, is a way that resistance, a mask that resistance wears, is like liberating in a way. Because you can say, oh, okay, there you go. I'm burning energy up, playing hypothetical thought experiments of how things are going to play out or doubting my skills rather than taking that energy and putting it into doing the work. And as I said earlier, there are many other, look at this, like I'm really jumping from page to page here, or chapter to chapter, if you will. It's not actually chapters. I'm jumping around quite a lot, and there's a lot that I haven't covered. So if you guys want to pick this book up, there might be many other aspects of it that resonate with you, and that can help carry on kicking you down the road in the ass towards accomplishing your goals and realizing your dreams. But the next one that I found to be so serendipitous that I came across this in this book because it's on brand, it's on theme with a lot of the conversations I've been having on this podcast about healing, about fixing, about wanting to be a better version of yourself and making yourself a project in order to do that, and kind of like losing sight of what matters in the process of constantly trying to become whole, which by virtue of making that an objective implies that you are not whole and that you are missing something and that you are not enough. So one of the things he talks about is resistance and healing. And he validates a lot of my feelings at the moment about how misguided the pursuit of healing can be sometimes. This is what the book says. The concept of healing, that is, seems to be that one needs to complete his healing before he is ready to do his work. This way of thinking is a form of resistance. What are we trying to heal anyway? The athlete knows the day will never come when he wakes up pain-free. He has to play hurt. Remember, the part of us that we imagine needs healing is not the part we create from. Fucking, I love that so much. Sorry about that for your ears, but that, I've read that line. I mean, I've read this specific thing, obviously, the first time I read it, then in preparation I read it, and now this is probably the third time I'm reading it, but it just hits as hard every single time. Sorry to go on a little divergent course there, but I'm getting back on course. Let me finish reading the excerpt to you. Remember that part of us that we imagine needs healing is not the part we create from. That part is far deeper and stronger. The part we create from can't be touched by anything our parents did or society did. That part is unsullied, uncorrupted, soundproof, waterproof, and bulletproof. I literally have goosebumps. I don't know what to say. In fact, the more troubles we've got, the better and richer that part becomes. I'm just giving you a goosebumps moment. I hope that you're having one as well. Like, cameraman, zoom in. Can we get a close-up of this? Guys, goosies. Goosies. I mean, does it need any further unpacking? I feel like what's said cannot be said any more perfectly. The part we create from can't be touched by anything our parents did or society did. That part is unsullied, uncorrupted, soundproof, waterproof, and bulletproof. Yeah. And I love this next part because he goes from saying like something so impactful and so profound, which is very true, that our higher self, our soul, in fact, if you believe in that, which I hope you do, if you don't, also fine, but our soul is where we create from the seat of the soul. That place is perfect. It is untouched. And it is boundless. It is limitless. And we all have access to that. All of that resides within each of us. So, wow. Incredible, okay? Like a little bit of a, explosion face emoji moment. Then he goes on to say, don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against true healing. We all need it. But it has nothing to do with doing our work. It can be a colossal exercise in resistance. Resistance loves healing in inverted commas. Resistance knows that the more psychic energy we spend dredging and redredging the tired, boring injustices of our personal lives, the less juice we have to do our work. Snaps. We snap at that. Do you feel more empowered knowing that this feeling of resistance is impersonal? It exists in all of us. It results in some really nasty side effects, but none that we cannot combat and conquer. I know I do. I know I have felt empowered. Granted, this is just theory, and practice is always something completely different. But it begins with the thought, right? The power of our minds. Let's just get the cogs turning. Let's get the ideas brewing, okay? Let's get the pennies dropping, and then we take it from there. But the good news is that resistance can be defeated. So I hope, if anything, what you take away from this episode is that there is nothing wrong with you, okay? Resistance is something I think we all experience. And it's not evidence that you are on the wrong path. In fact, it's likely to be that it's evidence you're on the right one. Because the things that matter most ask the most of us. They ask us to show up with consistency, with vulnerability, with the risk of failing publicly. I invite you to notice your own resistance and notice the stories that it is telling you. And on that note, in our next episode, we're going to look at how we can win this war and authentically, brilliantly, exuberantly, divinely express ourselves. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I will be releasing a part 2, so stick around for that. Let me know if you enjoyed it. You know the drill, guys, and I mean it. I know that at this point in the episode, you've probably tuned out, but if you listen to this, please engage with it, guys. Share it with a person. Share it with a person or two. Share it with someone who you think needs it. If you like what I do, follow me if you don't already on Instagram or on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Please also, this is a call to anyone listening who has not yet rated my podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please will you go do that. Click on it, give me a star rating. I'm not telling you what star rating to give me, but go ahead and do it. I would love to see a metric, just one singular metric. A lot of love, a lot of thought, a lot of energy goes into this. And you know what I'm saying? Dance with me. Let's hold hands. Let's cha-cha. We're in collaboration here. We're in relationship. Let's cha-cha real smooth. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for making time for us.